secret romance of Princess Haya and Bassel al-Assad could have changed the fate of Syria. They say love can change the world, and if Disney fairy tales have taught us anything, it's that love has the power to bring people together, inspire hope, and even change the fate of nations. So, what does that have to do with today's story? Well, everything. This isn't just some made-up fairy tale. This is the real-life love story of Princess Haya bint Hussein of Jordan and Bassel al-Assad of Syria. It's a story that could have changed the course of history in the Middle East, but never got the chance to. Their love had the potential to bring peace, unity, and progress to a region in desperate need of it, but it ended in tragedy. Why didn't their love story have a happily ever after? How could things have gone so wrong? And most importantly, how could their love have changed the world? Stick around. This is a story you won't want to miss. Meet Princess Haya bint Hussein, the royal daughter of King Hussein and Queen Haya of Jordan. Just like a classic Disney princess, Princess Haya was spirited, adventurous, and full of life. She wasn't the type to sit quietly in the background. She was bold, confident, and determined to make her mark. Sports were her passion, and she didn't just dabble in them, she excelled. Princess Haya made history as the first Arab woman to represent her country internationally in sports. Her love for horseback riding and her determination to succeed broke down barriers and inspired a whole generation of young girls to dream big. If you're looking for a charismatic, sporty, and trailblazing princess, then Princess Haya is the definition of all that and more. Now let's meet the other half of this story, our male lead, Bassel al-Assad. As Syria's crown prince, Bassel was everything you'd imagine in a future king. Handsome, athletic like Princess Haya, and already showcasing the traits of a visionary leader, he was seen as the man who could bring progress and stability to Syria. Bassel wasn't just another royal. He was a reformer in the making, someone who could have steered his country toward a brighter future. If ever there was a perfect prince for a strong and dynamic princess like Haya, it was Prince Bassel. Together they seemed like the kind of pair who could inspire the world. But, as fate would have it, their love story wasn't destined for a fairy tale ending. So how did these two meet? It all started at an international equestrian event, and according to sources, the connection between Princess Haya and Prince Bassel was instant. Maybe it was their shared passion for horseback riding, or maybe it was their mutual respect for tradition and ambition. Whatever it was, there was definitely a spark. It felt like Princess Haya had found her real-life Prince Charming, but it wasn't just their shared love for horses that made them seem like the perfect match. A marriage between Princess Haya and Prince Bassel could have been much more than a romantic union. It could have created a political alliance between Jordan and Syria. A friendly tie between these two nations might have been a stepping stone toward peace and cooperation in a region that's often in turmoil. And honestly, the idea isn't far-fetched. Bassel was seen as a progressive leader, someone who wanted to modernize Syria and break away from some of the older, rigid ways of doing things. On the other hand, Haya wasn't just a princess known for her love of sports. She was already making waves on the global stage as a United Nations messenger of peace and a former president of the International Federation for Equestrian Sports. Through her work, she tackled issues like hunger, education, and women's empowerment, showing her deep commitment to making the world a better place. Together, they could have been a power couple in every sense of the word. Their union might have strengthened diplomatic ties, fostered regional cooperation, and even laid the groundwork for lasting stability in the Middle East. But enough about what they could have done for their nations. What about the romance itself? What was their secret relationship really like? If it was a secret at all, a spicy romance. A romantic phase between two royal figures before an official wedding wasn't exactly the norm back then. And in the 20th century, A budding romance between Princess Haya and Prince Bassel, without the official blessing of marriage, would have been the gossip of the century. But let's not ignore one important thing. Jordan and Syria weren't exactly on the best terms in the 1990s. So, a relationship between a Jordanian princess and a Syrian prince wasn't just surprising, it was downright controversial. Still, who cared? Certainly not Princess Haya and Prince Bassel. They were already deeply in love and determined to make things work, no matter how complicated it might have been, or how their families would have reacted. Love, after all, has its way of ignoring political rivalries. It didn't take long for people to start noticing what was going on. The media, always on the hunt for juicy royal gossip, quickly caught wind of their growing romance. Paparazzi and reporters were all over it, trying to piece together the story of these two royals from rival nations. People were curious, and the secret love story was just too good to ignore. By the end of 1993, it wasn't much of a secret anymore. Word had spread and plenty of people knew about the relationship between the Jordanian princess and the Syrian prince. It was starting to feel like a real-life fairy tale, except it wasn't a fairy tale at all. Not everyone was against the relationship, but there were definitely some people who thought a possible alliance between Jordan and Syria wasn't a great idea. But for those who did believe in its potential, they probably saw it as something that could change everything. A marriage between Princess Haya and Prince Bassel could have been a symbol of unity. One family from Jordan, which was close to Western powers, and the other from Syria, a country that had been isolated under the Assad regime for years. There were even rumors that their love story could have acted as a bridge between the two countries, creating a powerful political alliance that might have reshaped the Middle East. It wasn't just about love. It was about what their relationship could have meant for the future of the region. For the people who supported them, the idea of a royal wedding must have been so exciting. And with a royal wedding, everyone dreams of a happily ever after, right? But, as we said at the start, their story didn't end that way. Sadly, this real-life fairy tale had a tragic ending. Sadly, ever after. A typical happily ever after usually involves someone rescuing their partner from a tough situation, followed by a heartfelt proposal and a cute wedding banquet. But that wasn't what actually happened with Princess Haya and Prince Bassel. Unfortunately, the cruel hands of fate decided to strike, robbing them of the perfect happily ever after story. This sadly ever after started on January 21st, 1994, when Bassel al-Assad tragically died in a car accident near Damascus at the age of 31. Prince Bassel had been driving at around 4 a.m. at a high speed of about 240 kilometers per hour and was on his way to the Damascus International Airport for a private chartered flight to Frankfurt, Germany, when his car collided with a barrier. Bassel instantly lost his life, and so Princess Haya had been robbed off her fiancé, and Syria had a great leader taken off its arms. At the time, Prince Bassel was already Princess Haya's fiancé, as of the time he died in 1994. These two lovers had kept their engagement to each other a secret, and it wasn't until the tragedy struck that everyone else got to know that they were engaged up until Prince Bassel's death. After Prince Bassel's tragic death, his younger brother Bassel al-Assad unexpectedly became the new heir apparent to Syria's leadership, a development that surprised many. For those who had been fans of Prince Bassel and saw him as a symbol of hope for a modernized and reformed Syria, his death felt like the end of those aspirations. Over time, it became clear through Bashar's actions that the hopes people had tied to his brother's vision for Syria were never going to happen. The alternate reality, a happily ever after now. Imagine a reality in which Syria and Princess Haya hadn't lost their prince. Imagine if Prince Bassel hadn't taken the trip that day and a couple of weeks later, a wedding had been held. Imagine a reality of where Prince Bassel and Princess Haya had ruled Syria together. Pleasing, right? Now let's play out this alternate happily ever after reality. Bassel and Haya got married before the end of 1994, and within the next couple of years, they had cute babies together. During their rule together, Bassel ushered Syria into a revolutionized 21st century. This Prince Charming did a great job with modernizing the economy, improving relations with the West, and giving more rights to his people. He was so passionate about technology, education, and international relations that he let this play out in Syria and even Jordan affairs. Everyone in the Middle East loved him, as he did a great job helping to save the world. As for Princess Haya's role during the rule, well, of course, she didn't disappoint one bit. She advocated for women's rights in the Middle East, and because of this act, the Middle East women had her to thank. Also, in this reality, Haya's connection to global networks, her advocacy for women's rights, and her understanding of Western politics gave Bassel the ideal support that was needed to fully open Syria to the world. Haya and Bassel were the heroes of the Middle East, and their partnership gave several nations a progressive future. Their rule had little issues, and so Syria never got to experience a civil war. And they lived happily ever after. But hey, let's not get carried away. We all know all these didn't end up happening, right? What happened to Princess Haya in the sadly ever after reality? Even with the love of her life snatched and no promise of a revolutionized Middle East, Princess Haya still knew she had no choice but to carry on with her life. And so, what next for her? Well, this princess went on to marry Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum of Dubai in 2004 and became a mother of two. But this didn't stop her fighting spirit from continuing in some ways. One way or the other, this princess knew she had to play her part in helping to save the world, and that was exactly what she did. Even after Prince Bassel's death and her marriage to someone else, Princess Haya still continued with being a prominent philanthropist and advocate for women's rights. Her work with the United Nations and countless charities went a long way in positively changing the life of millions. Yes, she did her part in saving the world just as her Prince Charming would have wanted, and she tried holding it together for a really long time. But eventually, this princess let it all out. Let's face it, was there even going to be any other love greater than the one she had with Prince Bassel? It did take some time for the princess to do something about it, but she did. In 2019, Princess Haya took a bold step, one that changed her life forever. Taking her two kids with her, Al-Jalila and Zayed, Princess Haya fled to the United Kingdom and filed papers for divorce. This divorce did take the media by storm. She had gotten married to one of the most powerful men in the UAE, but still chose to divorce him. Well, now that was some scandal. But that wasn't even the most scandalous gist about Princess Haya and the Sheikh. Sources soon revealed that Princess Haya had an affair with a male bodyguard about 2 years before the divorce, and when the Sheikh had found out, well, he hadn't taken it too well. Furious, this Sheikh began threatening her, but as though that didn't sound dangerous enough. On 2 occasions, Haya had found a gun on her bed with its muzzle pointed toward the door and the safety lock off. Then there was also the case with the notes. Yes, anonymous notes warning she received that had just these words on it: "Your life is over." So, as you'd see, it was only normal for Princess Haya to flee with her kids, as her life was really in danger. Once in the UK, Princess Haya was able to file legal claims against Sheikh Mohammed in the High Court of London, accusing him of harassment, endangerment of life, and attempting to control her. She also sought custody of her 2 children and filed for a protection order. In fact, there was every reason she needed that restraining order, because it turns out that the Sheikh, her husband, was previously involved in the kidnapping of 2 of his other children from another mother, Latifa and Shamsa. These 2 had seen their father for who he really was, and so had attempted escaping from the family, hence their kidnapping. And yes, Princess Haya was successful with the divorce proceedings. In fact, she did get more than enough from the divorce, a whopping $730 million was given to Princess Haya from the divorce settlements, making it one of the largest divorce settlements in the world. And after that? Well, Princess Haya decided to remain out of the public eye, and as of now, she's spending the rest of her life doing what she knows best, and that's continuing to advocate for humanitarian causes and raise awareness about issues related to women's rights, education, and children's welfare. What's up with Syria today? Syria today is a nation still reeling from the consequences of Prince Bassel's death. So far, it has experienced civil war, sanctions, and economic collapse. Unfortunately, the Middle East couldn't be saved just as Prince Bassel and Princess Haya had planned it together, and because of that, the majority of Syrians are now living in poverty, and the Syrian pound has lost nearly all its value. In fact, several folks have now fled the nation, seeking asylum in other countries with a much better fate. The women of Syria are even having it worse as they are made to endure the stringent rules placed on them. Rules like women being restricted from attaining the highest educational level, and of course there is the case with the early marriages the women are being forced to go into. The harsh reality of what followed took a huge toll on people. Despite their efforts to fight for a better nation, many couldn't help but wonder how different things might have been if Prince Bassel and Princess Haya had married and worked together to transform Syria. However, not everyone shares this belief. Some argue that their romance wouldn't have changed the country's fate, and that the challenges Syria faced were far bigger than any fairy tale ending could fix. But really, what do you think? Where do you stand? Do you think the Syrian couple could have saved Syria? We would like to know what you think in the comments section. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you in our next video.